The late night UFO sighting, circa 1965. This took place in Bridgeport, Michigan, and now the story. It seems today people see unidentified flying objects behind every cloud. Googling the topic leads to virtually unlimited current reports. When I was growing up in the mid-late to late 1960s, such was not the case. Oh, to be sure, there were significant sightings, but not the volumes such as we see today, or with much less access to the media, perhaps they were not reported as frequently. An incident around 1965-66 shows clearly how a common item under the right circumstances can be seriously misidentified. The night in question was a very hot and humid one. I'm thinking like mid-August. I'm thinking it was around 10:30 that night. My dad and Mom were out in the backyard relaxing with Chuck and May Brennan. Dad worked for General Motors, and relaxing with a beer in the backyard was probably his second favorite form of relaxation, fishing being the first. I was in the house by myself watching, very appropriately, The Outer Limits. I heard some loud talking from the backyard, and I could tell that Dad and Mom were excited by something, and so I went outside to see what was going on. The four of them were standing and looking towards the roof of the Brennan's house. Now they were standing there laughing when I found, which I found odd, as before they sounded quite worried and intense. I remember asking what was going on, and Mom and Dad replied with a laugh that they had just been watching a UFO. She must have seen my puzzled expression. "Look up there," she told me, pointing to the Brennan's roof. There, sure enough, was what appeared to be a UFO. While that is what it looked like, looks can often be deceptive. What we saw was one of the cross pieces, which was silver in color, on their television aerial. And while our private drive had no street lights at the time, still lights perhaps from the Brennan's front porch light or street or cars going by was reflecting off that single piece of the antenna. This made it look like a static object in the sky, and as cars drove down the road, reflecting again on the antenna, it gave the occasional illusion that it was moving. It was really realistic looking. I'm not saying that all sightings are that easily explained, but I am sure some have such logical explanations. I believe in UFO sightings very strongly, and my Christian belief tends to make me believe that they're of demonic origin, but I can't prove that. But this was when Michigan was having a UFO flap, or were a wave of sightings, so to speak. So our minds were primed to look at any oddity in the sky as a possible extraterrestrial visitor. In 1966, in fact, the flap of sightings, which began, I think, in March that year, became so intense that the Air Force called in Professor J. Allen Hynek to try to quell the fears of the Michiganders, mostly in the southern part of the state. And he explained that some of the sightings could be explained by swamp gas, and the press ran with that. But anyways, that's the story. Thanks for stopping by.